So, what's holding you back from the success and impact you're ready for as a consultant, a coach, a business owner? Is it marketing? Is it fear? Or is it simply unclear and fuzzy brand messaging? Find out the signs that brand messaging might be behind your struggle, and if so, why you must fix it. So, welcome to the Consulting Matters podcast. This is the show for consultants and coaches who are ready to own the power of what they do and position themselves for greater impact and income. I'm your host, Betsy Jordan, and I am both a business mentor and a brand messaging and positioning strategist. You can find out how I help my clients turn the complexity of what they do into clear and compelling client converting messages, offers, and strategies on my website at www.betsyjordan.com. And don't forget, Jordan is with a Y. So let's get into today's topic. Let me start by asking you a question. How do you feel when someone asks you, what do you do? Do you feel excitement or dread? Or let me ask you another question. How easy is it for you to write copy for your website or for your marketing, your LinkedIn bio? Does it flow? Or do you sit for hours with analysis paralysis and writer's block? So if you feel stuck when you're writing and talking about what you do, then chances are, my friend, you might have a brand messaging problem. It may feel like a confidence problem, it may feel like a marketing problem, but more often than not, it's a brand messaging problem. I totally get it. I feel like I've been having a messaging problem. You are going to be one relieved listener because today I'm starting off a brand new series on the power of clear messaging for consultants and coaches. We're going to get this series kicked off with today's episode, which is all about how to tell. What are the signs? What are the indicators that tell you that you have a messaging problem and why you must fix it? So, before we get into all of this, before we dive in, I want to make sure that you and I are on the exact same page around what is brand messaging and why it matters in general. So, to understand messaging, we need to go back and get clarity on what positioning is. So, in a previous episode on the podcast, which I will put in the show notes, I talked about what is a brand position, the ROI of positioning. I've talked about it quite a bit. Now we're getting into messaging, but we need to be clear on what is a brand position. And your brand position is the unique space that you own, both in the market in general and in the minds of your ideal clients. Your brand position defines who you help and most importantly, the context for your help, meaning the strategic goal that your client wants to achieve and the big time problem that's standing in their way. That is the context. That is why they need you. And then your brand position also includes what you do, how you're different, and the unique value your clients get only because they work with you. So that is your brand position. Your brand messaging are the words that you use to express that brand position. And so when you take your brand positioning and your messaging and you put it together, it gives you focus for your business development. It is what directs your copy, it directs your content, and it's what is that bridge that connects you to the clients that you're meant to serve. And if you're like most consultants and coaches, everyone I work with, it is a struggle. The struggle is real. And that's why I'm so excited about this brand new series. Even if you slightly suspect that this is something you need to work on, stop what you're doing right now, put a pause on this episode, and hit subscribe to wherever you're listening so that you don't miss out on this series. This is a series you do not want to miss. And also be sure to head on over to my website. Head on over to www.betsyjordan.com/confused hyphen to hyphen confident. And there you'll find a brand new free messaging guide. And that will show you the framework that we're going to be going over in the next few weeks. So, without further ado, let's dive in. What are the 5 signs that tell you, yes, 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 you need to work on your brand messaging? Number one, you're just starting your consulting or coaching business. The first indicator that you need to work on your messaging is simply you're just getting started. So, your brand messaging is about so much more than this marketing exercise or this nice to have exercise. It is the first step on your journey to a thriving, high impact, high income consulting or coaching business. It is the step that way too many business coaches and even marketing firms overlook or minimize, especially when it comes to consultants and coaches, because we think, you know what, let's just go out there and get clients. And the thing about your brand messaging, your positioning, is this is the foundational part of your business development where you figure out the biggest thing that is on your mind when you're just getting started, which is all about how do I repackage my career, my strengths, my passion, everything into a business model and a brand that resonates with the clients that you want to attract. Like that's the big question. And so this is how you get the answer. So there's so many reasons why you need to work on your brand messaging at the beginning. So from a tactical standpoint, your foundational brand positioning and messaging is actually your business strategy. So this is what gives you focus that you need for everything else that you need to do to bring your business to life and set it up for sustainable profits. This is what helps you get traction. You know this. You're a former leader, you are a former internal consultant. You know the first step for any client that you're working with who is starting a business is to begin with strategy. You know, if you've ever worked with the marketing department, they're going to begin with the brand. So this principle still holds true for you. And without that strategy, without that clarity on what you do and the value that you create, there is a predictable path that will happen to you. You're just going to get out there and get clients. You're going to wind up in that situation where it's hit or miss results. You're going to accidentally recreate your career and your business. You're going to find yourself in that exhausting hustle and feast or famine income cycles that not only jacks with your profits and your money, but jacks with your confidence and it makes you want to give it all up and just get a job. Or your business dreams just get stuck on the launch pad. You know, you're just stuck in the endless spin and the analysis paralysis. You know what I'm talking about. I know you do because if you're just getting started, you're going to wind up in one of those two paths until you start working on your brand messaging and positioning. But the other thing that I love and why I'm so passionate about this work that I do with my clients is from a personal standpoint, clarifying your brand messaging is really a container for transformation. So when I work with my clients one on one on their brand messaging and positioning, it's not just about how do they get the words that provide the foundation of what they do and the clarity and the direction. It's so much more. It's how they actually shift their mindset. You know, like their mind and their heart changes and they stop seeing themselves as an employee and they start seeing themselves as a business owner. Or you stop seeing yourself as a leader and you really step into this brand new role as a consultant or coach. And so, if you're getting started, if you're brand new, or you're just thinking seriously about it, now is the perfect time to work on your messaging. And there's so many reasons why. You know, number one, is definitely going to fast track your progress and save you hours upon hours and analysis paralysis. You know, I work with Denise on her brand messaging positioning when she was thinking about starting her business, and she spent a long time just like constantly thinking and rethinking. And not only did we get her out of that analysis paralysis and spin faster, we got her clarity on the absolute right business for her, and she will tell you that she was profitable faster. The other reason why you wanna work on your messaging at the beginning is it'll save you tons of money on expensive trial and error and the hustle and all of that ick feeling of undervaluing your worth, you know, all of that that comes with it, just get out there and get clients. Again, you'll build the right business. You know, I was working with Sandy and she was really working hard on her business and she was really afraid of being known for something that she really didn't want to do. And when she worked on her brand messaging and positioning, she got clarity like on this is the right business. And so what happened is if she didn't work on her brand messaging, she would have built what I call the should to ought to business. You know, the one that seems smart on paper, but is not really in alignment with what you want. And, you know, when you work on this, you get rid of that because you start to see like, hey, there's some patterns and there's themes for my life. Like there is a reason why I want to create the business that I really want to create. And this work helps give you that confidence in it. You'll deal with all of the other inner tasks as well. So I mentioned confidence. You know, we're talking about, you know, the fears and the imposter syndrome that don't really just get fixed if you can just go to a mindset coach or go into therapy. Like it's not going to help you as you work on your brand messaging, you'll along the way address those inner tasks and you're going to just really change your earning and impact trajectory from the start. So, are you convinced yet in the value of working on your brand messaging at the get go when you're just getting started or you're thinking seriously about getting started? And if yes, have you gotten your brand positioning and messaging to the point where you are rock solid, clear, and confident in what you do? Like, have you gotten to that point? And if you haven't gotten to this point, has is it just simply because you haven't really worked on this? Maybe that this is a brand new thing that you never thought about that you needed to work on until now. So, what's keeping you from getting that rock solid clarity and confidence in what you do? Is it just exhausting trying to figure it out on your own because you're just too close to your strengths to see it? Like you've got that nose to the window pane syndrome where it's like, I know I'm really good at it, but I can't really articulate it because I'm just too close to it. So, the reflection I want you to have is if you're just getting started is, do you have a messaging issue that you might need to resolve? If yes, what are you gonna do about it? How are you gonna fix it? Alright, so that's number 1. The first reason or the first way to know it's time to work on your messaging is if you're just getting started. Another really, really, really big sign about working on your messaging is what happens when you try to explain what you do. You're out there networking or you're tapping your network for referrals or you're going to the grocery store and somebody comes up to you and they ask you, "What do you do?" How do you respond? Do you freeze like a deer in the headlights? Do you mumble something like your title or some sort of aspirational tagline? Do you go into some sort of detailed explanation of your methodology? Regardless of what you do, is it met with, you know what I'm going to say next, the dreaded blank stares or the vague, wow, that's nice. Good luck with that. And pretty much nothing after that. No follow up coffees, no discovery meetings, no introductions to potential clients. So, can you relate to this awful, embarrassing, in the pit of your stomach type feeling that makes you want to avoid networking altogether or any type of marketing or sales? If so, you're not alone. And if so, it's just simply time to work on your brand messaging. So, here's what's at stake when it comes to this particular one. If you're getting blank stares when you explain what you do, but you're out there networking, so you're out there talking to people, you're still engaging with people around what you do, you really are just doing stuff to try to get clients. So you're already spending precious time and money, and these efforts are not leading to results. So you're literally wasting your time and money. One of my most tangible and fastest to claim benefits my clients get from working on their brand messaging is they dramatically improve the results they are getting from the networking that they're already doing. Doesn't mean that they have to increase their networking. It doesn't even matter at this particular point in the juncture or this particular juncture of their business development. They're not even working on their offers yet. They're just simply getting better at how they express what they do, and they're getting better results from the networking that they're already doing. So, for example, Brad, who you're going to meet on the show soon, he struggled with his brand messaging a lot. And then we got to work on his clarity. And literally, this is not a made up story. Within a week of us nailing his foundational messaging, he wound up in a networking opportunity. And he was asked that dreaded, what do you do question. But this time he was like, you know what? I think I'm going to practice this. I'm going to try out my new messaging, see how it works. And here's what happened. As he got through explaining what he did, the person he was talking to, he's like, oh my gosh, Brad, you just described me. I'm exactly your client. And not only that, I know 50 other people that are in my exact same boat that I want to introduce you to. That is the transformation of what happens when you go from confused messages and bored disinterest to, where have you been? I need you. I use that phrase a lot because I feel like it shows that energy, that exclamation of like, oh my gosh, where have you been? When you're really clear what you do, people are like, oh my gosh, I really need you. That's the value here. So, if you're in that place where you're getting those blank stares when you try to explain what you do, and you want this to change, I want you to calculate the value of clearer and more compelling brand messages that you're confident in and at how it translates to your bottom line. I want you to apply this information to you and your world. If you are not getting those head nods and the people leaning in, and you are actually doing the hard work of networking, I want you to think about the amount of time and money you're spending on that networking and the return you're getting from that investment. So there's lots of direct costs when it comes to networking. There's the direct cost of your membership fees if you're involved in a networking group. If you're going to conferences, there's those fees, there's travel costs. And then there are all the indirect costs. Like if you add up all the hours that you go into planning, going to the networking event, driving to the networking event, your time at the networking event, and the value of those hours. And then think about how many qualified leads you're actually getting as a result of that time and money and what those leads are worth. And then just think if you could just increase the percentage of qualified leads that come from those conversations, nothing else, same hours networking, same packages. What difference would it make? And are those results worth it for you? Is it worth it for you to refine your brand messaging so you can get better results from the networking that you're actually already doing? So just think about that for a moment and see if that resonates. And then we will go on to the third sign, third indicator it's time to work on your messaging. And this one is simply you are attracting the wrong clients. So the leads that you're getting, the potential clients that are coming your way, the people your referral network is sending your way, they're just not the right people. It's not that they're the wrong people in general. It's not that you can't help these people. It's not that these people couldn't benefit from consulting or coaching. It's just that they're not right for you. They're not right to where you want to go right now in your business, or it's just work that you're not excited about or motivated. On the surface, this may not seem to be a problem. At least you're getting potential clients, right? But there are hidden costs to attracting and even landing the wrong ones. I learned this way too late in my consulting business. I was somebody who decided for all the scarcity reasons that you all might feel around working on your brand messaging to be like super vague in a lot of ways with my messaging on my website. At the beginning, it was like, oh, I improve organizational performance or something like that, or I accelerate organizational transformation. But I wasn't really clear on what type of clients I wanted to work with. So I wound up getting all kinds of companies, like small family owned, produce companies. And then I got, government organizations. And one year I wound up also at the same time getting a really great engagement with Wyndham Vacation Ownership, which was like a perfect fit for me because I come from a hospitality background. I have a Disney background. I love hospitality. And I'm working at the same time doing very similar work with another company that was selling sauna buoys to the Navy, and these are 2 different companies, but we were both working on org design work. And I did not realize at the time, even though the initial contract was like roughly for the same, how much more profitable having the right clients was. So when I was working with the clients that were not bad people, they just weren't the right fit for me. It was a very different type of experience because then I realized, like with Wyndham, it was so profitable and was so easy. But let me quantify. Let me talk about what are the hidden costs for attracting and even landing the wrong ones. So the wrong clients really are harder to convert for so many reasons. So for you, you might procrastinate on what you need to do to land the client. And if you're not passionate about what your client does, like they're very passionate about what they do. They're very passionate about their industry. And if you don't have any passion, for what they're all about or who they are, your clients will feel it, or they actually more accurately, they will not feel it when your passion to help them isn't there. And so they're just harder to convert. Working with the wrong clients is exhausting. It takes more time to do the same work, or adapting your processes and best practices just takes longer. For example, for a little while when I was in Denver, I rented an office that had a lot of counselors around me. And so I'm like, I could take my brand messaging and process and I could apply it to counselors. And I didn't realize I was solving a very different problem. Counselors in their industry, even though they kind of could look like consultants and coaches, it was a very different problem. So I had to adapt all my brand messaging, all my processes and everything to work for them. And it didn't really it wasn't even like scalable. Like I couldn't bring the counselors into the groups I was doing with consultants and coaches because they had very different needs. And so working with the wrong clients almost like just multiplies your effort. And then in some cases, if you really are not loving the work that you're doing with that client, you have to fight boredom. Like I always tell my clients when we're working through figuring out who their ideal client is and figuring out like what their industry is, the ideal industry, especially if you're working in the consulting role. And I call it my walk the floor test because every client you work with at the beginning, they're going to kind of want you to walk the floor, meaning walk the production floor and see how we build our products and services, or go to our restaurant or do what we need to do. And so when I was like at the client I was telling you about, or one was selling sonobuoys to the Navy and the other one was Wyndham at the same time, I had to do the walk the floor at the same time. So one, I had to go look at the production floor, which for some people would be great, like mechanically minded people. Like they would love to see how these sonobuoys got made and how cool that is. But with Wyndham, I had to go to the hotels. Like they sent me to the Bonnet Creek Hotel here in Orlando. I got to bring my kids. I got to stay overnight. Like that was a very different type of experience. And so I call it the walk the floor test because how will you feel engaging in their products and services? How are you going to feel about their shop talk? Going with Wyndham, like I loved hearing the shop talk about how to improve the customer or guest experience. Okay, so working with the wrong clients can be exhausting. The other thing about wrong clients is they're less profitable. They don't implement well, they don't become your success stories or lead to referrals. And there's an opportunity cost with investing too much time in the wrong clients because you're just not out there finding the right ones. And ultimately, you're getting known for work and clients you don't really want. So, on the flip side, there's huge value of clear messaging that attracts the right clients. So, they are easier to convert because they're already excited about you, especially if you have content and a really great website. Is they're already halfway down the buying process before they even get on a discovery meeting because they've learned about you, you are the right fit, when you work with them, it doesn't even feel like work. You're in flow. Like, I can't even tell you the last time when I was actually working with my clients that it felt like work. Now, I'll tell you there's certain aspects of things like with my podcast that can feel like work, like because I really have a hard time with the intros and the outros, but, I struggle through it because I love podcasting, and I love what I do and I love who I help. So ultimately still feels like in flow. There's extra things I do that I don't even think about. Like, I probably should monetize. Like, one of the things that I've been falling in love with is going with my clients on their photo shoots and really directing that time period. And I've done it for a couple clients. I forgot to even charge for it. I know. I'll tell you in the future, I probably need to do that. So if you're listening in, you're like, oh, Betsy's just going to give me stuff for free. There's a good chance I probably will because I won't forget about it. But then when somebody holds up the mirror, like, hey, you're teaching us to own our value, then I'll pay attention. But it doesn't feel like work. With more of the right people, you have lots of options for scale and offer new value to them. For example, I started that impact and income accelerator. So I have 8 people in a group right now, and we are working through how to land clients collectively. It's a mastermind group. I definitely want to offer a content creation retreat later on, and I could do that because everybody has the same problem. You get better results with them. You can make a bigger impact, and then they're just more profitable in general because their success stories leads to repeat work and referrals. So going back to Wyndham, not to say Wyndham's better than the Sonobui company, but for me, it was a better fit. Is Wyndham's been unbelievably profitable for me. Is I have many, many brand messaging clients that came out of Wyndham because we were such the right fit for each other. But I didn't get any of those types of clients from that other client. So if you are attracting the wrong clients and you want more of the right ones, then you do need to create messaging that attracts that. Like I think you get that. So, what I want you to reflect on is if you know this is your situation, I just want you to think about if you have any resistance around it. Like many, many people do, like, do you have fear of missing out on opportunities or income? Is it just like a really hard belief for you to get past is that you believe you could help anybody who needs a consultant or coach? But really getting past that perspective that there's some people you can work with lots of people, but some are a better fit for you and you can get better results. And some people really just need you because of your story, your unique experiences. Do you have difficulty of excluding people or past clients? Or it's like, wow, if I just say I really want to go with these people, this is my ideal client. I want to go after them. Do you feel bad like, oh, well, I work with these other people in the past? Or is there some vulnerability around making the choice? Like if you say, like I'd had to make the choice of saying, I work with consultants and coaches, and that means I'm staking a claim that my expertise is in this particular area. So just think about if you have any resistance around it. And if you do have resistance, are you ready to work through it so that you could have messaging that leads to the clients that you're meant to serve, not just anybody who needs a consultant or coach? So that's the third way to know if you have a messaging problem. Now let's get on to the fourth one. And the fourth one is simply if you're pivoting focus, but you're still using old messaging. So, are you in a situation right now where you've been in business for a while and you want to make a change? You want to pivot from working with individuals to working with organizations or vice versa? Are you looking to launch something new, shift your niche and your ideal client? You doing a major overhaul to your products and services? If so, it's just time to work on your messaging. For a lot of similar reasons, as I mentioned around when you're first starting your business, it's the similar reasons of why you want to do this when you're pivoting focus. And here's the thing, too, messaging isn't a one and done activity. It's something that has to be revisited time and time again, because you put something out there, you see how people respond to it. And then if it doesn't work, you tweak and adjust it. But when you're in a time of transition, you almost have to think of it as a total rebrand, especially if you're pivoting from working with organizations to working with individuals or vice versa. That's a totally different business model, one that totally blindsided me when I moved from consulting to organizations to the B2C business that I have now. So, if you are expanding to a new audience, for example, like Pamela that I'm working with, she was really investing her coaching business in helping real estate professionals grow their practices, but she really wants to work with women coaches. So that is a time to work on your brand positioning. If you're pivoting from working with individuals to organizations, like I had Katie Anderson on the show, you can go back and listen to her episode. She talked about her journey of moving from coaching packages and programs to primarily working with organizations and offering more custom workshops. Or you might be someone like my client JB, who's elevating how he is delivering his leadership development. He's really focusing on executive development and a very unique approach that is much more strategic and comprehensive with cohorts. He finished up his doctorate and he really wanted to elevate. That is a time to work on products and services. So shifts require a change to your brand messaging and your brand in general. So if you want to shift your focus with old messages, you're going to get stuck. So I'm just going to tell you, if you are in this like weird time where it's like, I really want to make a change. I'm ready for the next level. I'm nervous about letting go of my old messages, or I'm letting go of what I used to do. That's a really bad place to be at. I'm going to just tell you that it's not just that you're not getting results from your networking. It's not just that you're attracting the wrong clients, but there's this other consequence that you may not even see. And it's just that you're going to start hating your business. There's a reason why you're in transition, and it's readiness. You're ready for the next level. Your messaging is actually holding you back. And if you don't fix this and don't fix it soon, you're going to wind up in what I call the doom loop. So let me explain to you the doom loop in the different stages. So stage one in any place in your career is maybe where you're just getting started in something. So maybe you were starting your business for a while it worked. You like the work, but you weren't good at it yet. But you kept at it and then you moved to stage 2 where you got in the groove. You like the work and actually you're really good at it now. And then you move into stage 3. So this is where you're on the way to burnout. You don't like the work, but you're still good at it. But if you don't make a change, you will find yourself in stage 4. And that's where not only you're just burnt out, you don't like the work and you're no longer good at it, which can severely affect your brand, your reputation, your self esteem, satisfaction, and more. So, ideally, when you're still good at the work and you still like it, that's when you should start reevaluating, like, I wonder what's next. You definitely have to make the move, though, when you're in stage 3, is when you don't like the work anymore, but you're still good at it. Because if you don't, it's going to be bad news for you. So, are you in this place? This is reflection time. Are you wanting to pivot your business from working with individuals to working with organizations or vice versa? Are you launching something new, shifting your niche, doing an overhaul? If so, are you ready to rework your messaging? And if so, what's holding you back? I could tell you from my experience what held me back when I was pivoting from consulting the brand messaging that I do now is I invested a whole lot in consulting. I had a master's in consulting. I had all of those years at Disney as a consultant. I had all those years as an external consultant. It was a proven path to make money. This was a proven container. Moving into the new direction with brand messaging, oh my gosh, it was all new. It raised all the same old fears of the unknown, money and imposter syndrome that I had when I was first getting started. It's a very difficult thing. So if you can relate and you know that it's time for you to make a change, Are you willing to befriend these fears so that your brand messaging leads to the clients and impact you want now? Not what you had before, but what you want now. And if so, let's figure out what needs to happen to get you the messaging that you need. Fifth and final indicator that tells you it's time to work on your brand messaging. And it's simply this: you sound like everybody else. Your messaging is both replaceable and easily forgettable. What I mean by replaceable is this: like, let's say you're looking at your website, you remove your logo and your picture, and or you're looking at your marketing and you replace it with a competitor. Does the content still make sense? If so, that means your messaging is just too generic and not unique to you. What I mean by forgettable is that your messaging is filled with empty, cliched, and overused meaningless phrases that everyone uses and that makes listeners say like, "Oh, what the heck does that even mean?" And they just disconnect. And I think you know what we're talking about. And here's the reality: the consulting and coaching marketplace is crowded and getting even more crowded. Some stats, not to freak you out, just to kind of tell you where it is. According to ICF, in 2024, it was estimated that was 145,000 active coaches, and it's projected to be 167,000 coaches in 2025. And according to IBIS World, the number of consulting business grew from 3.4 million in 2024 to 3.6 million in 2025. So there is a crowded consulting and coaching marketplace, but there is a specific position in the marketplace that is set aside for you. And you won't stand out in the market to these people by sounding like everyone else or showing even how you're better than everyone else. It's how you're different, which is based on your unique personality, your strengths, your perspective. Now, in my next podcast episode, I'll tell a little bit more about the curse of knowledge that we all have that leads to the type of messaging challenge where we wind up in a very generic type of place. And what are some of the messaging mistakes we make? So be on the lookout for that. But here's the thing to reflect on: is, do you wanna sound like everybody else? And if yes, why? What does that create for you? Like, how does that keep you safe? Like, I know for me, when I was starting out, like, just kind of being aspirational and generic, like, accelerate performance or accelerate leadership transformation, or I ignite leadership and organizational potential, like, saying these, like, vague phrases and having this kind of, like, um, fictitious identity, even by naming myself Accelera Consulting Group, it kind of felt for a little bit like I had something to hide behind, because it wasn't really personal to me. And so that was what it bought for me, is it bought me some psychological safety, or what felt like safety, even though it didn't lead to the results that I wanted. So if you want to sound like everybody else, just think about what is that doing for you? Or do you want your messages to help you stand out? Like, do you want to infuse your business, your brand, your messaging with your unique personality, your style, your value proposition, so that the right people are attracted to you, the right people can connect with you, the right people experience that know, like, and trust factor simply by the words that you're using. And if yes, like, yes, I want to stand out, I'm ready to do it. What's standing in your way? What are some of the things that you might need to overcome? So that is it. Those are the 5 signs or 5 indicators that tell you if you have a messaging problem, and hopefully I've given you some understanding of why these messaging problems are really worth fixing. So let's do a quick recap. Brand positioning is the space you own in the market and in the minds of your ideal clients. It defines who you help, the context for your help, what you uniquely do, the value that you create. Brand messaging are the foundational words you use to express that. There are 5 ways to tell if it is time to work on your brand messaging. You're just getting started? People aren't getting it when you write and talk about what you do? You're attracting the wrong clients? You're in transition? And you just sound like everybody else. Fixing your brand messaging problem requires both the developing of the business case for yourself on why it's worth it to you, which helps you with the second thing that you need, which is about the mindset that makes unclear message, while less effective, safer. After working with countless consultants and coaches on their messaging, I find the main barrier to clear messaging is discounting of strengths and the courage required to own the true value of what you do. And this is why working on your brand messaging alone can feel impossible. So, in terms of next steps, what I would love for you to do is just take a look at your brand messaging, or just pay attention next time somebody asks you what you do. How are you feeling about it? And how are people responding to you? And are the signs telling you that you could benefit from a refinement? And what would it be worth to you to have clearer, more compelling brand messaging? So that's the first step. Just start paying attention. Two, be sure to download my guide at www.betsyjordan.com/, confused hyphen to hyphen confident. I'll have the link in the show notes so you don't have to remember that. But I wanted to tell you it's confused to confident. Get my guide that will help get you that jump start that you need. And better yet, if you need help on a personal level, consider my brand messaging and positioning VIP program. The thing is that it's really hard to see our strengths and see the value of what we do. It's kinda like being able to see the label from being on the inside of the jar. So, this is a personalized program. This is not a group coaching program. I have a group coaching program that's separate. My foundational brand messaging and positioning is where you get personalized guidance from me, someone who is a messaging expert, but with 30 plus years in the industry. And you get my skill sets, my ability to untangle complex thoughts and gets to the heart of what you want to do and what you do that creates value. And I get your clients and I get who you're trying to reach as well. So, my goal here is to get to the heart of what you do, get the right words to get the right clients excited to work with you. And of course, save you from all the hours wasted in spin analysis paralysis and get you clarity, confidence, and clients. All of that good stuff. So head on over to my website to learn more, or better yet, book a call with me at betsyjordan.com/schedule. And let's get some time and talk about what we need to do to get your brand messaging on point. So that's it for now. I got so much more to come on the power of brand messaging for consultants and coaches. So be sure to hit subscribe now wherever you're tuning in. If you got value out of this episode, please share it with your colleagues and rate and review the show. And until next time, thanks for listening.